Good afternoon, everyone. It's Gilvin here, and I'm welcoming you to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the wonderful world of Windows imaging, as brought to you with the Foreman. And I'm bringing on to this deep dive Daniel, who's been doing a lot of work along with Dmitry to bring this to us. So, Daniel, I'm going to turn this right over to you to get us started with how we do Windows imaging.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone. This is my first deep dive, so please bear with me and be patient. And just I wanted to say that if there are any questions, I think you can ask them right away, or I think Greg will post them to me. And so let's get started. So just a little bit about the history. What we are doing about today is we are getting Windows setup, a complete Windows provisioning running with Foreman. The goal is to have it do the same as you are used to already in all Linux type operating systems. As we will create an installation media, an HTTP and FTP installation media. We will set up all the boot media and boot things needed, and we will add later on some templates to Foreman. And hopefully in the end we still got time to show you actually this thing running. So first of all, these are, I wanted to mention Dmitry's repository. Dmitry did a lot of work to get some basic Windows image to perform and work with Foreman. He wrote a lot of PowerShell scripts, which I build upon and which I use extensively and work with. And he already had my pull request in his repository. So I think he has a lot of credits for this project. So, okay, let's get started. I tried to outline the basic process over here. What we were about to do, we will create a boot medium, and later on we will add stuff to Foreman. To create actually this boot medium, I have outlined the process. We need to prepare and set up a target OS. In my case, it will be Windows 8.1. We need to add install sources. These are nice Vim images. I'll show you later. We need to add drivers. We need to add updates. And then basically the process is running. We run the wimaging shell. The wimaging shell, we use some PowerShell scripts. And these PowerShell scripts will create a work folder for us. And then we decide whatever we create, a boot medium or an install medium. And in the latest step, or the last step, this medium will be synced to our, FTP or HTTP server. So we have this part set up. The second step then will be the Foreman step. But I think we just start with this one, and we'll come back later to the other one. So first, what you need is the wimaging-ng repository. It's not up to date right now, and I think there will be some pushes after today to get you the latest stuff. I'm already working with a more recent version, but nevertheless, this one should work also. So what I will do, I just download the zip file. I already have one. I've already named this. And I put the zip file just over here. I think it's very small, hopefully. And yeah. Is it? Ah, here's it. Okay. So you have a lot of PowerShell scripts, but ignore them for now in this repository. The most important part over here, where we start out, is this sources directory. First, we need obviously our install sources and stuff. We do also need drivers, and these are obviously dependent on your hardware. So I will say some tips later on, hopefully, which get you started on this. But first of all, we need the install source. I already created one for the boot image, the Windows PE image, and one for the install images. The boot image actually performs all the work. Foreman does boot in the boot image via network, and the boot image does all the install stuff. Since I use Windows tools only to be future-proof, hopefully at least, this is best done on a Windows computer. I'm here now on a VM. Any VM will do. I call this, Microsoft calls this a technician computer, and you need to set it up a little. You may need to download all the WAIK set stuff, but basically you only need the install Vim, the boot images, the boot Vim from there. So first, what I will do, I will place my boot Vim over here. This is the WinPE Vim. I just move it from here, from the old directory. I already prepared this here, and very important are the drivers also. You need them in this directory, and what I did, I added some Word.io drivers to demo this. In the end, this driver section need to be kept small, so the image will be small in the end, and the boot time doesn't exceed a certain amount of time. So only the most essential drivers go here, like network drivers and storage drivers. So I have the Vim file and the drivers, and I just copy them over to my source file over here. There we go. Now I use this directory template to set up a new OS. In my case, it will be Windows 8.1. It needs to have a special name, therefore I will maybe come back to that later. And first do some setup for the repository. There's an inc directory, and in this inc directory I already added 2 configuration files and 1 sample configuration file. For our purposes, I just show you the contents of this file. So our OS will be named win.win81x46, and I will put this folder here, and it needs to have the same name as our operating system is called in the end. So I go back here. And just rename the directory template like it is written there. You can use pick actually any other name, just write it in this config file. And now there's a very important point, the edition. And the edition in this case is professional. And Microsoft decided to do that you can have actually a certain amount of editions and stuff in this Vim file. And you need actually to find out what is it. And the edition name you get with a nice command from Windows. Just have this one. This one should be, yeah, this is an, I just take this install Vim to show you how this works. This is the command you need. It will get added later on, don't worry, so that you can call the script. Let's see the elevator prompt. For all this stuff, you obviously need an elevated prompt to work. So always run this administrator, and then it should do. So this was quite fast. I mark it here. Now this image, this is a Windows 8.1 image, as I said, has only one index 1, as you can see over here, has only one image inside. So if there's only one image inside, you can leave this out, but the name over here should go here then, like this. Once you have set up this file, over here, only changes you need. We need for once edit our one important parameter, which will be automated in the future, but for now it needs to be set manually. So head over here to the tools section. You can ignore this folder, this is deprecated. And we need here the wimaging, and there's a config command. Sample, edit this. You already said it needs to be renamed to config command. And here, very important, add your Foreman FQDN, or IP address will work also. Rest, keep it. And rename it to config command. Actually, this is a native, works with native Windows stuff in the end. So, further configuration for our first Windows image. Still back in the sources. Now, since we have set up the boot vim now, as everything is in place, we have the drivers, and we have our tools configuration with a Foreman host. We can go on and set up the install sources. For that part, you just head over and copy stuff from a normal Windows boot CD or image. Just add one here now, my VM. So we take this one. And basically, you need these two files here. And the boot manager I can use also, but it's not very important. I put it there as well. And from the sources section, you need the install vim. Now, since it's a very large file, And I will cheat a little here. I have to cheat a little because I timed the process and it's very, very long. Even the installing, and it takes time, and my notebook is not very fast. So for now, for this one at least, I will add the boot vim and say this will be an install vim. Not quite right, but it will work for our demo purposes and will work fast. So there's one pitfall. I showed this to you. Maybe, yeah, we have it here. When you copy something from a CD or a DVD source or an ISO image like I did, then you have this read-only flag set. Do unset it, otherwise this process will fail. It's very hard to debug. So then I have drivers. I just used the drivers I had in my Windows PE. Actually, as I said before, these are different drivers, should be different drivers, because in the end, you want to keep your boot vim small and to work on any computer. Here, in the end, and the install vim, you need to be more specific. In the driver section, you need to add all drivers which are needed for your hardware. For now, I only, because I deploy VMs only, I only need these files here, the Vue.io drivers. And in the end, you can also create multiple folders. So only certain machines will get certain drivers. You will need to do that in the end, because if you use a different hardware, some drivers do not play well with each other, but they get installed anyway. And you end up with a non-working provisioning. So, but for now, I just add this to the driver section. This directory, the extra here, is for any extra sources and extra stuff you want to add in the image. Usually, I don't keep it empty, but you maybe want to add the Puppet MSI or stuff you want to add in the image while provisioning, where maybe you have your configuration management system not yet active. So just put it over there. But I keep it empty. Okay. This should be it for the preparations, I hope.
So is it worth just, if that's all the preparation stuff, is it worth just maybe recapping there? So if I've understood correctly, and I'm no Windows expert.
Yeah, that's
we've taken the zip of your Git repo. We've set up a boot image, so that's got the basic drivers in it, and then we've gone and set up the final image as well, which has got the more complex stuff in it.
Yeah,
is that right?
Quite right. What I have done now, I just go back to my flowchart over here. And what I have done, I'm now here at this point, run shell, which is what I do now. The scripts will then take care about creating the actual boot media, what we need, and actual install media. So what I did now is all the preparation. I set up the repo. I added our sources. These were the images I had. We do need one boot image, and mostly one boot image will serve all your hosts, and hopefully even different operating systems. From the Microsoft side, this should work. And I added the drivers. And the drivers I need for the boot images, they are special because they are, some reduced part, some bare level drivers I need only to run the hardware. You don't need an audio card or something like that in the boot image. You only need storage drivers and network drivers. These are the most important you need in the boot image. So let's go ahead and actually create our image. So I have here my command, run wimaging shell command. This is a small shell which sets up an environment you need to run all these scripts. And this actually passes through all the config ps.1 files. And you can select just the one you need. For now, I start out with actually the installation media. I say 1, and now it copies over all the installation media config file to a temporary location where I can work with now. The first part I need to do, init, install sources. Now, what this will do, it will just copy over all the stuff which is in the install directory. Overwrite this now. Okay, just has copied over. I just show you the what happened. Very basic. Now we have here in our install folder. The install folder later is what gets synced to our installation media server, HTTP host or FTP host. So there's now just the same thing I had over there. I do this first because later on the boot image will be copied to every operating system I provision. Now, I do initialize the work folder. This is a temporary folder. Actually, wimaging is using for mount directories or mount these Vim files, because these get mounted then to add the drivers. Now, this should work. It fails because adding tools does not work on this kind of image. But basically, this is what gets it. Says what I said. It's cheating, but it will work. I show you later on the install image, on the boot image running. So it says one line. The Vim is not pushed yet. It means that this image now still resides in our work folder, and we need to copy it over to our install folder, so to our location. So just do this, and it did copy over our install folder image. I'll run the shell again. Now I select 70. Okay, I don't need to init the install sources. I just init develop them. Okay, first step, mounting the image. Still takes quite a long time. That's why I skipped it for this. But this is only 200 megabytes of image. Now, as you can see, it adds all my drivers. The Word.io drivers over here, the int files. Then copying tools. This is quite important because now this boot image will be configured to connect to our Foreman instance on boot. This is what we configured in this config sample further. So what I then do is push them, and it tells me pushing to WinPE boot Vim to Vim's imaging. So it pushes just the sources as boot Vim. Show you what happened here as well. So I now have this boot Vim and this install Vim, and the whole Foreman later on expects this directory structure, so it is automatically created. And what the next step would be to copy over all these images, the contents of this folder, to a publicly accessible source, to an HTTP and FTP server. I just show you here. What this looks like in a production environment. So this is our production environment currently. And as you can see, you have the boot directory with all the stuff in it. And you have the drivers. In our case, we have several different hardwares and some links pointing to the same hardware, which have actually different names. I take this directly out of Foreman, so the setup is automatic. Just as an example. And in my extras, I have my Puppet MSI over here, which installs Puppet 3.8.3 on my Windows host. As a one last step, and one feature you can add, this is wimboot. Wimboot is actually needed to boot these images. As I'll show you the website over here. Sorry, I don't have it as a bookmark. I think the wimboot. This one is used, this project, this wimboot project. And you can download it over here. There's a link, and there you can download here. The wimboot latest is what I downloaded. This is not actually necessary. You can do this manually later on Foreman as well. But if you put it here, the boot file, best, of course, in sources, boot, wimboot, then it will automatically install from the Foreman proxy. And then another feature, which is actually quite great, you can add with this project here, Windows Server Update Services offline. There's also a project. Over here. Don't worry, all the links are provided in the end. And this little tool actually downloads all the Windows updates for you to an offline location inside this directory and this client directory. And if you have them there, then wimaging will actually recognize it and add all the updates which you have for the correct for the OS you downloaded to the Vim file. This is possible since Windows 8.1 or 8.8 that you can update these, add these update files to your image directly. So all the Windows updates are already in place when you install it. So this is just a little tool. You just then press start. I just selected the catalog for Windows 8.1, but you can serve Windows 10 and Windows 7. Also, there's a lot of stuff, so I did skip it right now. Just remember to put it in a Windows Offline folder next to the wimaging folder. It's the only thing you need. You can configure it later on, but read the docs for that. Okay, that finishes up with our creation of the boot media. Just go back over here. So we have done now this step over here. We ran the shell. We did init our sources, which copied them over. Our work folder was init, initialized for the boot medium and the install medium. And all the stuff basically later on was synced to our server. I simulated this by just adding it to the install directory later on. Any questions so far?
Nothing currently in IRC or the Q&A app.
Okay.
I will. I mean, what happens next with this stage then? So, what are the future plans here? I think there's quite a long deep dive, so maybe we should just have a quick not recap because you've been over it really nicely, but just maybe rather than saying what are the future plans for everything at the end.
So no, I'm still not finished. It's just this part. The future part. So I'm finished now creating the boot media. Actually, we head over to the Foreman part, and which is over here. And later on, I hope that this part now, which is go back to the repository over here. All the stuff over here is currently in my repository on GitHub. And the plan is to actually give Dmitry back control over wimaging, because he actually done a lot of work from this, and it leads to some contributing, and it works great. And get the integration part better with Foreman. And that's why there are already some pull requests. I show them later. Which add documentation. Basically, it is the documentation for the whole process, which is already here, which go to the Foreman doc, so you can access them there, and which then has.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Foreman.
I was just thinking about whether there's more automation planned for these scripts themselves. Like, there's a lot of manual steps, right? So.
I will hopefully add some more automation, but in the end, you still need to copy over drivers manually. There's no like an URL where you can download basically your Windows image, and so no way for me to figure out what hardware you use, what drivers you use. So there will be, sadly, there will be a lot of work still. You have to put in creating these boot images or Insta images, but once you have them. Actually, keeping them up to date is quite simple, and you are working with Foreman. You need to do more configuration there, but you're quite flexible over there.
Sure. And, okay, cool. So let's see the Foreman side then. Sorry, I just wanted to see.
No problem.
I was just interested in whether it was worth sort of talking about sort of the future plans for the scripting side and the future plans for the Foreman side. But if that doesn't work, then that's absolutely fine, and we'll come back
exactly. If somebody figures out something great how to automate this, I'm very open and very glad.
I wasn't so much thinking about the drivers. Obviously, that's specific to individual people's infrastructure, but more just like there seems to be a lot of kind of just run a command just for copying things from A to B.
You're right. Of course, this is all, I forgot to mention it, because this is all still development stage. It runs on our production side, but I have not had enough time to put work in it to make it more automatic, but certainly to do all this more automatically. I already added a lot of stuff like the menu and like the copying, and I streamlined the configuration over there, which is now just already, all this stuff is still already in Dmitry's repository over here. You see basically the same as I did. I did add all the documentation, and so it's still from Dmitry's side. It's already quite automated, and I hopefully can do a lot of more, put a lot of more work to it.
So to summarize, patches welcome, right?
So all these patches are always welcome.
Cool. Okay, so let's see the Foreman side then.
So the Foreman side, I just head over to the flowchart again. For Foreman to set up, basically you need to add all the templates over there. They are already in the repository, and hopefully they are very soon available in the community templates as well. There's a pull request, and the templates already are as a pull request in the Foreman in the community templates. So hopefully you will have them available very soon. When you install your Foreman, you don't need to import them, but because they are already there. But obviously, for now, we have to do that ourselves. So we need to do what we need to do now. We need to add in Foreman our templates, the partition table and stuff, and all the other things you used to. We need to create an installation media. Sorry, this wasn't working well. And the installation media, actually, we just created it now. This was the first part. And then configure and all parameters, and then actually provision the host, hopefully. So let's go to Foreman. This is a demo Foreman instance which has nothing on it. I actually deleted all the other stuff in it. Let's see what is there. I delete this as well to show this to you. Okay. Basically, there's nothing in it. You need to create, but I don't want to get over all these steps because you know them already. You need to create architectures and you need to create operating systems, but the operating system I will create. And you need to create a partition table and the provisioning tables. Let's start out with the partition table. It's very easy. Just choose a file. I'm wimaging now in Foreman, and there's the partition table, and add this. And call it maybe WAK, default, always a nice name. You can configure this by yourself. It basically is a script for this part Excel to use the whole disk one. And call it like over here the operating system family. So this will get called Windows. So that's it for our partition table. And now the provisioning tables, provisioning templates. I already added some snippets. Currently, you still require them. I hopefully have them in time ready that these templates all work without these snippets. And so I also delete this. When you start up with Foreman, you actually have a Pixel Linux template, but you need to modify this one to work because it's quite old. So what I do now, I open this, just paste in the new Pixel Linux template. Okay. I'll go on with the other stuff. The new one. Let's add our first new one. That's the provisioning template. Okay. This one is type provision. And I name it okay. Just I will say a few words to each template. I now added the provisioning template, and the provisioning template in the end is what Microsoft calls an unattended XML. It will render it and it will add your Windows license key. It will add your system locale, a time zone, and all this stuff. And here again, let's find my mouse cursor over here. There. It's quite important, this parameter. I will add it later on. It's a Vim image name. It's the same as I added before. It's Windows 8.1 Pro. What we find out, that's when we make the boot media, it's the same. But it needs to be added over here. I think that if you only have one image, then it doesn't matter. But maybe you have several images in one Vim file, then better to edit. Okay. Another template. This one will be the script template. So again, add over here and add scripts template. Sorry. Okay. Now, this RIT actually does all the work. It's the first thing which gets downloaded by the boot vim. And it doesn't need much parameters. Also, it needs the Vim image name, because this is one which gets installed. The only thing it needs. And this one actually will prepare the new disk. It will partition it. It will, so basically here is all the bells and whistles are going on. And then downloads all the drivers. It downloads your Vim image from the installation image, the install Vim, applies the unattended XML, so our provisioning template, and copies over tools. And then the rest of the stuff is normal Windows setup, which is proprietary. So the normal Windows setup is going on. After that, Foreman has nothing else to say. Okay, still another template. I have another one, which is, I don't know if I use this correctly. I have the user data, because I always think I already have this here. Sorry, this is this one. My interpretation of user data is defining users. So I put it there, and this is actually a PowerShell script which does the domain bind, domain join afterward. So I think for this part we have all we need. There's still some more. So let me have a look what I am missing. Yeah, yes, finish is quite important. Sorry that I didn't miss that. So a finish, we need all also. Okay. So then we add our installation media. And path, I just say is a list for a non-existent path. But you would do this way. You have your own HTTP server, and there you can go to it. You can even use, your Windows, your provisioning, your technician VM you used for the installation media creation. You can use this and just publish this install folder via HTTP, and it should work. Okay, now let's head out and create an operating system. There are some things you need to take care of. Since you have maybe Puppet installed, this gets changed later on, or you still need to use all the fact names from there. So it will be Windows 6.3, what I call it, Windows 8.1. It will be Windows is your fifth family, obviously. And now the password hash will be base 46. quite important that you use base 46, because otherwise the password function will not work.
I think you mean base 64.
Sorry. Base 64, of course, I mean base 64. So you need base 64 because Microsoft once thought this is an encryption algorithm, or a hash algorithm. So, of course, select here this x46, because the fact is x46 with Windows, and submit this. After you created your Windows, then you can add the provisioning templates or assign them to there. I will do that now with the finishing. Start out here and associate this with my new image. So the finish I had. Okay, hopefully these are all. Of course, the snippets you don't need to install, but one word to the snippets. I provided some snippets I use for my production environment. This one is called OU from host group. What it will do, it will use the Foreman host group and the reported domain from Foreman to create actually an LDAP OU path to join your computer. So you can have your host groups and the OUs in Windows actually mirror your host groups. That's what we do here. Then I have one local users. Actually, this is some XML, which is commented out over here. And you can just add local users to the computer you are provisioning with that. It's for if you're starting out with wimaging and provisioning Windows hosts, it's actually quite a nice idea to add some local backup users to see if something went wrong. Actually, you can log yourself out if the password hash wasn't working or something else. So maybe it's a good idea to add some local users over here, some plain text passwords. Quite easy. You can just add this, read the Microsoft documentation how this works. This one would add, if you remove the commenting over here, it will go straight to the provisioning template and to the XML and add your local users over there if it's not commented out. So this one actually would add a user called admin. The password would be password. And another one is the finish template. The finish template is run by Windows. It's a native native system. So Windows has a system in place where you can actually run post setup script, and this is what it's using. And the script will do the domain join, set up NTP servers, and activate your root user, your administrator user, which is by default disabled. You can set this via host and a parameter if you want it enabled or not, and so on. By default, I will enable it over here. This is what this does. And in the end, it will delete all the stuff which it has added, because there are sometimes passwords and stuff inside. Of course, you need to have your domain account join password in plain. Otherwise, it can work, but it will use for a secure delete mechanism to remove all the stuff in the end, and nothing is left on it. And as the last step in my part, it will call over here the snippet called WAK. Okay, it's a finish commands, and in this snippet over here, just show it. Nothing magical. This one just installs Puppet in my case. Over here. Let's outside of the Puppet installer. Here I already defined some uses. You can use it with parameters over here, and can define some passwords and some account name. You want Puppet to run under this. Okay, let's see if this actually works. What we now need to do is do some configuring, and you may need it different. Do it differently. I always add parameters to all this stuff to the operating system, but you can have added somewhere else, wherever you want. You can add them as host parameters at the end. They need to be host parameters you add. So I go back here. So you can see this better maybe. This one. Okay. So params are documented in the templates and also in the documentation. Every one of them. So the Vim image name we already have. You need a license key, it's quite important. But you might, of course, use your KMS key over there or a default KMS key. I just add some garbage. And we need to add at least a license owner. So my goal was to keep it small, to keep the amount of parameters simple. Actually, if you want to use all the features, then you need to add more of them. But they quite also have defaults. Just show this once. So this was for the first part, and maybe, okay, let's say I'm in Germany. And I don't want the default, I think it's Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Standard Time is the default time zone in Windows when you install it. Makes no sense with me. So let's add this parameter that Windows wakes up with Central European Time.
Just thought you'd like to know we have about just a little over 5 minutes left. So,
damn it. Okay. Then I just skip this here, and yep, already over. Sorry, I forgot the clock. Okay, then basically add the parameters you want over here. So you have your operating system setup, and what you need to do now is create your hosts. I just add one. See if they are rendering, and hopefully they are rendering. There's one kvist. So demo host. There's none. This one, damn it.
you need to edit the operating system.
No, I don't need to edit.
I
I need to edit the operating. Thank you. Forgot about that. templates. I can set some defaults over here, and it should work out better.
You probably want to check all those tabs because the media will need ticking and the partition table as well.
Yeah, you're right. There, I forgot about that. I'm sorry. So they have now everything tagged. That was part of the operating system. I went too fast. So no, don't forget to add your templates and tag all the partition tables of the newly created partition table over there. Now this should work, hopefully. So, okay, complete classes, interfaces, and I will delete it. Okay. Okay. Now, currently, there's certainly an issue with this password. I write it down here. It does not like the safe mode, safe template render mode, because I would need to re-encode and decode and re-encode base 64, and this does not work. So I just you need to add a string in the end of your passwords. So like this. And now the Microsoft part, admin password. You need to add this string in the end. Otherwise, there's also a template. You can just type in the password, no things needed, but you would need to disable safe mode for that. So, new host, and I hope this works now. Yeah, sorry, this is still an old template, but the time is over. This does not work with safe mode. And okay, in the end, what would now happen is, if it would work, that the Foreman proxy would download all the boot files needed from your boot directory of your installation.
Do it. Go and change safe mode and show us. We've got a little bit of time left yet.
Yeah, I have. Okay.
Just very quickly.
I don't know if it works. Yeah, it should work. Sorry, I added the wrong one. I already have updated one, which not requiring safe mode anymore. But this one actually from there still requires it. And now I need to add the password, I think, again. Okay. Now it creates it. Obviously, with safe mode disabled, but the templates I have in the already in the community templates pull requests, they don't need safe mode anymore. They will work out of the box without safe mode disabled. So just to see this, let's have a look maybe on one template how it would view out rendered. So we added our password string over here. That's the password hash. And yeah, this is later on. And if you would have configured some more parameters, you would see more over here. But actually, this is like it works with our environment. Okay, what about the time, Greg?
Just a few seconds to wrap up.
Yeah. Okay, I have here, I just so we closed. Still some links I wanted to show. This is an overview over the setup process, how it would work now. Windows would boot the image, but this is just on that, and it will be, the links will be provided over then. If it would work, this page, there you go, but it's very small, sorry. And the future plans. The future plans are to extend it, to have more automation, as Greg already mentioned, as I mentioned before, to have actually more flexibility, and to have for you a quite good documentation where you can do all these manual steps which might be required and still will be required in the future to do it yourself in the end and successfully. It still is in the development phase. It still needs a lot of testing if you want to try it out, and you will have the first installs almost never work. My tip is make extensive use of the preview feature of I just showed you now. This, if you use over here, you go to your provisioning templates, and make extensive use of this feature where you can already see the render template and that it renders actually, and that you don't have any issues. And look at the process, and in the script, there's one tip for me still, hopefully the last one. You have over here, because this is the one which gets executed first. Maybe it's a good idea to uncomment this line over here, the last line before X before exit. The pause command will be, then the host will pause actually, and you can see what did happen. Also, you will find on your provisioned hosts log files. So all the outputs from all the scripts is logged into something called Foreman log, where you can hopefully debug the process and see what went wrong in the Visual Finished script. Okay, later on you will have this documentation and the templates hopefully directly in Foreman, and you don't need to add them. Okay, that wraps it up, and I hope you will use it. And if you have questions, you can reach me. Or just open bugs on the GitHub repository, and later on maybe also on Foreman. Okay.
Thanks very much, Daniel. Yeah, we're out of time. We don't have any questions. You've apparently produced the clearest deep dive we've ever had, but that's fine. That's good because we're out of time anyway. So it just remains for me to say thanks very much. Thank you for giving your time and to contributing to the community in this way. For those of you who may have questions in the future, please do ask on the YouTube page, on the GitHub repo, as Daniel already said, or indeed in the IRC channel, and people will do their best to help you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.